They said she vanished on that bridge 10 years ago, but last night, someone saw her walking there again. If you want to hear this story till the end, or enjoy more stories like this, hit subscribe and share your ideas in the comments. Rain was falling hard that night in a small American town where streetlights flickered like broken memories, and she walked away in tears and never looked back again. Her footsteps echoed against the wet pavement, each step heavier than the last, her heart breaking, but she didn't stop, not once. People inside the diner watched through fogged-up windows, the same diner where she once laughed, where his hand once held hers, now just an empty booth and a cup of coffee gone cold. The jukebox still humming their favorite song, like a ghost refusing to fade. He stood at the edge of the parking lot, his face wet, not from the rain but from the truth he finally understood. She was gone, and it was his fault. He wanted to call her name, but the words stayed buried like secrets under the asphalt. The wind carried the smell of gasoline and wet earth, and somewhere far off a train horn cried through the night. She heard it too. It sounded like goodbye. She clutched her old denim jacket tighter, the one he gave her on their first road trip to Tennessee, the threads torn but still holding, like her heart, barely. She kept walking past the gas station where the neon sign buzzed half-lit, open all night, where he once promised her forever, but forever had come and gone, now just broken glass and half-truths behind that glowing sign. Her mind replayed that last argument, his voice sharp, hers shaking, the way he said he didn't care, the way she believed him. She wished she hadn't, but she did. She believed every word, and now she couldn't unhear them. The town was small enough that everyone knew, but no one stopped her. No one asked where she was going. Maybe they all knew some pain doesn't need directions. She crossed the bridge over the river that cut through the valley, the same river they used to sit beside, dreaming about a life that never happened. She looked down at the dark water. It moved slow, heavy like her thoughts. The reflection showed her face older somehow, harder. She wiped her tears with trembling hands and whispered something only the wind could hear. Behind her, headlights approached, a car slowing down, pulling over. The sound of gravel crunching. Someone stepped out. The door creaked, then silence. The kind of silence that makes your heart stop for a second. She didn't turn around. She didn't need to. She knew that voice. When it finally spoke her name softly, breaking in the middle like it hurt to say it. She froze right there on the bridge, the rain falling harder, the world waiting to see if she'd turn back, if she'd forgive, if she'd finally let go. But she just stood still, her hand tightening around that jacket, her breath uneven, her eyes staring into the water that seemed to whisper something back. Something she couldn't quite understand. The footsteps came closer, slow, careful, almost scared to be heard, and then he said something that made her chest ache, something that wasn't an apology, but sounded close enough to one. She closed her eyes. The sound of thunder rolled far away. Somewhere deep in her chest, something cracked open. And for the first time that night, she almost turned around, but then she remembered the letter, the one she found this morning, tucked inside the drawer he thought she'd never open, the one that changed everything, the one that made her walk away in the first place. Her lips trembled as she whispered under her breath, "I know everything now." And her tears mixed with the rain as she took another step forward, toward the edge of the bridge. The wind grew colder, the rain sharper against her skin, her hair clinging to her face as the sound of his footsteps stopped behind her. He didn't speak again, Maybe he knew words were useless now. Maybe he finally realized that silence was the only truth left between them. She stared into the black water below. It rippled with the storm, lights flickering from distant houses like faint memories trying to reach her. But she didn't move. She just breathed, slow, uneven, her heart thudding against her ribs like it wanted out. He took a step closer, the gravel shifted. She could feel his presence behind her, heavy, familiar. Now it felt like a shadow she couldn't escape. "You read it, didn't you?" he said, his voice barely holding together. She didn't answer. The rain was too loud, or maybe her thoughts were too loud. She could still see the words from the letter, every line carved into her mind, the truth he never meant her to find. "It was never supposed to be you," he had written, those words echoing now in her head over and over like a cruel rhythm. "It was never supposed to be you." Her fingers tightened on the bridge railing, her knuckles pale against the metal. She wanted to scream, she wanted to ask why, but she couldn't make a sound. The storm was speaking for her now, crying harder than she could. He took another step, his hand lifting slightly like he wanted to reach her, but fear stopped him. He knew one wrong word, one wrong move, and she'd vanish forever. Not into the water, maybe, but into that silence that lives inside broken hearts. She whispered, barely, the sound of her voice a ghost of what it used to be. "You lied to me." He closed his eyes, rain dripping down his face. He whispered back, "I was scared." She shook her head slowly, still not turning around. "Scared of what?" she said. His voice cracked. "Of losing you," he said. "But I lost you anyway." The bridge trembled under the wind, the world around them blurred, the small town asleep behind them, unaware that everything was ending here tonight. She breathed deep, the air thick with the smell of rain and rust, her mind replaying every memory, every promise, every goodbye hidden in smiles. Then somewhere deep inside a sound broke through, a siren faint in the distance, maybe from the police, maybe from the past. It didn't matter. It was enough to remind her that time was still moving, that she had to decide. She took one last breath, the kind that tastes like goodbye, and turned her head just slightly enough to see his reflection in the wet metal, his eyes full of something she couldn't name, regret, love, maybe both, maybe neither. He whispered her name again, softer this time, almost pleading. She looked down at the water once more and whispered back something only the river would hear, something that made him take one step forward and stop, because in that whisper he heard everything he feared. The thunder cracked again, lighting up the bridge for a moment, revealing both of them, two broken silhouettes trapped between love and truth, between the past and the fall. And then she let go of the railing, her hands slipping free as her voice barely carried through the storm. "You should have told me before everything changed." The wind slowed down, the rain turning soft like a whisper from the sky. Her hair clung to her face as she stood there, unmoving, her breath trembling, her heart still heavy, but quieter now. The storm was passing, and the river below shimmered in the faint glow of the streetlight. He stood behind her, still afraid to move, afraid to speak, the truth hanging between them like smoke, fading but never gone. She turned slowly, her eyes red but calm. The fire inside her no longer burning, just glowing faint like the last ember before the dark. He looked at her, the words caught in his throat, his lips parting but nothing came out. She already knew. She saw it in his eyes. The apology, the love, the loss, everything that had no place left to go. She took one step closer, her shoes splashing in the puddle, her reflection breaking with every ripple. For a moment, they just stood there, the world holding its breath. No thunder, no wind, just quiet. The kind of quiet that comes after you've cried for too long. Her voice came out soft, fragile. I wanted to hate you, but I can't, and I think that hurts more. He lowered his head, his shoulders shaking. She almost reached for him, but stopped halfway, her hand falling back to her side. She knew touching him would only bring back what she was trying to let go. The sky began to clear, a sliver of dawn spreading behind the hills, pale and cold. She looked at it and exhaled, long, slow, like she was finally empty. She turned away from him again, her boots sinking slightly in the wet road. She started walking the same way she came from, slow, steady, but sure. He didn't follow this time. He just watched the distance between them growing wider, until she became part of the morning light, her denim jacket catching one last gleam before she disappeared around the bend. The river kept moving below, calm again, as if nothing had happened, as if hearts didn't break on its bridge tonight. He stayed there alone, staring at the water, listening to the sound of her footsteps fading into forever. And somewhere down that empty road, she whispered one last time to herself, I forgive you, but I can never go back.